Hello and welcome to Navigating to Success. I'm your host, Jeff Carlton, Focal Point Business Coach. And this is going to be a little bit different episode. My newest friend, James Starbuck, we're sailing into international waters today, or flying in international airspace if you're not a sailor. He hails from Victoria, Australia, um, near Melbourne, correct?
Yeah. Most of my work is in Melbourne. I'm probably 30 minutes to 1 hour outside of Melbourne.
Yep. So James is the managing director of Starbuck Group, diverse companies, um, highly successful, has experienced some challenges, and we're going to pull the thread. He posted on LinkedIn last week or shortly before that. That really caught my eye about the things that we don't say on LinkedIn, the things we don't say on Facebook, the unspoken parts about business, the ugly side. There's a lot of rah rah, sis boom bah. Everything's great. It went off without a hitch. Congratulations, this, congratulations, that. And nobody's talking about the rough stuff and the sleepless nights and the hard days. So we're going to pull that thread a little bit, but first I'm going to let kick it over to James, and I'm going to let him uh, talk about the Starbuck Group and the diverse companies he has and what they do.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. I agree about the threads on LinkedIn and Facebook. You forgot the one buzzword that everyone needs to use in every post, and that is how proud they are of everything that they've done and their team and their company and their pride and how proud. And just make sure that they drop that in multiple times throughout everything. I started my company, getting back to your question, I started my company coming up 17 years ago. I started with a small machine by myself, digging for landscapers, concreters, plumbers in backyards, doing little uh, deck areas and, that sort of small foundation work. We now send in between 100 and 150 people to work per day, move a couple hundred to a few 100,000 cubic meters a month. Our main sort of work is actually something that I probably do in-house. I'm one of the only people who do it in-house, actually, which is the dig, load, cart, dispose rate. So that means I'll come to your site and I will give you an all-inclusive rate to dig the dirt, load it in trucks, cart it away, and then dispose of it. And I try and close that loop as well with the import spread compact. So I will tender jobs that means that the dirt that I'm dig, load, cart, disposing, I'm also charging someone to import it, spread it, compact it, and comply it on a subdivision site or on a build-up area or even on smaller scale infrastructure jobs. However, I mainly like to just supply them the dirt because of the compliance that they need can sometimes be so specific in terms of what you have to do to the dirt that I focus just on bringing them the material and try and somehow squeeze a margin from the middle or from the front or from the back.
And you also
Sometimes,
run a trucking company, right?
yeah, so that's my trucking company that moves the dirt and disposes of it as well. So the excavation company is approximately 20 to 30% of my total revenue. And the trucking company makes up the rest, which shows the size difference in companies. But I don't own all of the trucks. It's a brokerage firm. I own some trucks. I have full-time subcontractors who work for me under a full-time agreement. However, the trucking market means that it can be prohibitively expensive to own all of the assets and employ the people yourself, especially with the amount of downtime over rain events and market changes and union shutdowns, and the list goes on and on.
So yeah, we're pulling that ugly thread early. Um, but quick, just to scale. So you started out with one piece of equipment. How many dirt moving assets do you have right now? So
In
how
the
many
mid
trucks? How
30s,
many?
in the mid 30s right now, the truck for the dirt moving equipment. For the trucking side of things, I believe I'm up to 9 at the moment, but that ebbs and flows very
Sure.
hard like the tides, because what I do is I also buy contractors' trucks who are wanting out of the game or wanting to shift sideways or are geared up and wanting to gear down. And I also sell equipment to people who are looking to get into it so there's looking to get into it to start a business, to work in the jobs that we do, because sometimes it can be high compliance, and it can be challenging for them to do the compliance work themselves. So I sell a fully complied truck that's ready to go to work.
Awesome. So it's got to be pretty gratifying or something not to hit the the trigger word of proud, but you have to have a little bit of pride in the fact that you're able to reach out to some of the other people in your industry and subcontract them out and help them out when they're having a bad time, because you've become extremely successful in 17 years. That's a relatively short time frame to build the scale of what you have. It's impressive.
It's it's mainly taken off as a tidal wave once I turned the age, late 20s, early 30s, because before that everyone would wonder why the kid's telling him what to do on site and how much knowledge could he possibly have. I I agree that my knowledge at some points was lacking, but my risk profile meant that I would be taking on the jobs, and because I was paying for them at some point, it means it's my job. But before that, it was a slow burn. So for the first, call it, 8, 9 years, it was a fairly slow burn. I probably only got up to 20 people or something around there by the age of 30. And then by 37 now, like we're aiming to have 150 people on site in trucks, which means we're going to have 200 people. That's our goal for the year, with office staff and operators. But I want 150 trucks this year. And so to get up to that scale and to get up to that sort of market share means that we've had to implement a lot of systems throughout the time. So from one guy in a machine who only drives it half the time and drives a manual excavator, also known as a shovel, the other half, to now sitting in sales meetings, debtors meetings, sitting in management meetings, discussing things with accountants, means I've had a fairly hard journey sometimes to learn, to grow myself. But to answer the question about being proud and about all of that, my journey's only half done, and I don't believe I've got that much to be proud of at the minute. Once I get to the end, that's when we'll sit back and have a look at it, because at the moment we're still trudging through the desert.
Well, when you look at the projects and some of the stuff you've posted, I mean, one of the ones that really stood out to me, it really caught my attention early on. People go to the monster truck uh, uh, arena events out there, and to see that series of photos of how much dirt you brought
So
into a concrete
that's the
arena.
biggest one in the world. That's
Yeah,
the biggest stadium fill in the world. That one.
yeah,
So that's
and you built it and took it back down in what, 7 days, two
no, no,
weeks?
no. So the quickest time we've done it is we started and we did it in just under 5 days, but that's including 3 events running at the same time. So 600, and I think that one this year was slightly smaller. Last year was bigger. believe it was 660 loads. We got in 36 hours, I believe, to build the track. Then they ran the event for 2 nights, and then like a matinee session, let's call it, during the day of stuff. And then we emptied 660 loads in 13 hours.
It was incredibly brilliant. And you brought up something else, before I went off on the arena thing, because that just kind of blew my mind how fast you did that and pulled it
Yeah,
back down.
it's about a load every 90 seconds.
That's that's
We did.
stellar.
And so the challenge is not so much the loading in 90 seconds. I can get many excavator operators to load in 90 seconds. It's the tunnel underneath the arena to get out of it. It's how far you're driving the dirt. It's tipping
Right.
it off, managing that dirt and that stockpile in the middle of the night in the flogging rain.
Of
And
course, it
still,
had to be raining, right?
it rained so much, it would have rained 3 inches the last time. And then we finished, stop. The rain stopped. It's like start the trucking, rain, and then truck all through the rain, get to the very end of it, rain stops. However, that is part of the game, but we still have to achieve those goals. We still have to reach that production.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's just,
resilience,
and so
resilience and
I think it,
persistence.
but it's the driving in between. Like, it's not like we're taking the dirt around the corner. We're taking the dirt. It was about an hour round trip.
Wow.
So that means if you're loading in 90 seconds, you need minimum 40 trucks on, minimum.
Sure.
And I think at the maximum, because it's actually a bell curve. So at the start of the job, you were able to load very little. The track isn't set up. The trucks can't get to the dirt. They can only get to near the entranceway. And then slowly you work your way in, and then you work your way back to the entranceway. So it was actually that there was 3 hours in the middle of it that we were pumping out a load every 40 seconds for about two,
Wow,
3 hours.
that's
And
impressive.
we upped it to around, I think it was 75 trucks, 75, 80 trucks. And
Yeah,
then, of
it's
course, yeah, the last part that no one thinks about is I have to pay all of those people that come. I have to manage those hours. I have to input those dockets. I have to track their fatigue. I have to track their licensing, if they're allowed to be in the truck, the registration, because your DOT, what's called the NHVR, states that a company of a certain size is responsible and accountable to make sure that you're not sending people to work with no license. You're not sending people to work with unroadworthy trucks or the registration being expired. So you have to somehow, some way, with being able to do a high level of compliance and safety, which is another challenge altogether, which from a guy who used to, spend his life rolling out AstroTurf, because he was hoping to use the excavator for the guy building the AstroTurf. It's a long way,
yeah.
but the journey's only half done.
Yeah, you mentioned the manual excavator, and
Mm.
I want to kind of shatter the myth that might be out there. And Dane, a mutual acquaintance of ours out of Bozeman, Montana, Dane Cotton, had brought this up in his interview with me, that running an excavation company is not about sitting in a cabin just pulling levers. Um, there's a lot of time standing. I think he used the example of standing in a trench full of water, running a shovel, and you implied that too. So let's talk about the tough times. Let's talk about the things that people aren't talking about on LinkedIn for a minute.
Mm.
You had some anecdotes and a few stories that you had shared before we started the recording the episode. Um, anything jump to mind, specifically, maybe from the spark that post last week?
I've got a lot. There's more tough times than there are great times. There's more times if you wrote about the shit, that LinkedIn would be full of it, because the proud moments, the milestone moments are so few and far between sometimes. But you can have shit days every day of a month and still
Yes,
have
you
to get
can.
out of bed. I've had some really tough times. I've had a divorce. I've had a wife and kids who don't understand about going to work, about the problems of it. You know, sleepless nights, and they sound so. That word even in itself is underwhelming. But when you're having a sleepless night because of problems that you're having at work, whatever they may be, when you're lying there, that's a serious thing when your brain's running really fast. And so, yeah, I've had heaps of times. I've had jobs go wrong. I've had builders go broke, owing me large amounts of money. Last year, at the start of the year, I lost a couple of $1 million from someone going into liquidation and administration. That's challenging. You know, you've got this. You're obviously smart enough to run a business, so you've got a business brain calculating risks that's sitting there and saying this isn't worth it. But then possibly you've got the founder's brain, or you've got a sickness that says, I must keep going. And sometimes those two are just banging against each other, because you're sitting there and you're going, there is no reason I'm doing this other than to do it. Because,
Right.
you know, for a long time, I didn't have a lot of money. I put up a post in there that I was paying bills of $50, $100, $200,000 for the week, payroll and bills and end of month accounts, but I couldn't afford to put a transmission in my car because I couldn't find the spare cash. But I had the cash to pay all of my bills. I've never missed a payment. I've never missed paying an employee. I'm not in any sort of stress. However, that spare money, my money, the owner's money, just wasn't anywhere to be found. And so when you're sitting there and, you know, trying to, you know, explain to people the stresses and everything else like that, if you adequately explain it, they'd say to go see a doctor and get on some medication. Because if you're working 15 hours a day, not sleeping at night time, an unhappy marriage, kids who miss you, like, and I miss my kids as well. You know, you want to see them, you want to spend time with them. But if you adequately unpacked that and then talked about the business and then said, but I've got this great product, or I've got this great vision that I'm trying to do. And they go, yeah, but why and at what cost? And you go, oh, no, I'm going to get there and it's all right. You know, like, me and my wife, we're good. We love each other, and my kids will understand. And, you know, I'm going to have money. I'll fix the transmission. It'll be okay. And then
Right.
somehow at some point, like I've gotten to the stage where I've fixed the transmission, for a lack of a better analogy. But, you know, at some stage I've gotten there, and it has been worth it, and it has been great. And me and my ex-wife are really good friends, and we co-parent and raise a daughter, you know, together, and it's good. But there was a
Yeah.
lot of
And
times it was really shit.
yeah, you know, and those are exactly the kind of examples that we don't talk about enough. And you know, when you're having a sleepless night, man, it makes that next day even tougher.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. And
and
then you look at your mates and you say, oh, I didn't sleep last night. And they go, oh, I didn't sleep that good either. And you go, yeah, I suppose I don't sleep that good either. Yeah, it's okay. I'll have 3 coffees this morning before our first break. Good. And that's part of the issue, and the stigma around actual, like, my LinkedIn's blown up. Like, my LinkedIn, I get, you know, tens of thousands of impressions and everything, because everyone just says, thank you so much for telling the truth, or I'm in this situation. And I went through a real, I was saying before we started, actually, I'll take it one step back. Before we started recording, about the roller coaster, everyone talks about on the way up. Everyone talks about the top of the roller coaster. We get some information on the way down, but we very rarely talk about the bottom of the dip. Very
right.
rarely does anyone talk about it, because it's uncomfortable sometimes. It's uncomfortable. It's shit. It places a responsibility on the person who's hearing it to genuinely care or think or want to help or fix, and no one wants that. They want to talk about the good times.
Right.
You
The
put it on the
ego,
highlight reel.
that ego kicks in. And they, I had made the comment to you earlier when we were talking about that nobody pays the bet. It's all the greatest hits. It's
Mhm.
never the third track on side two. If
No,
I
it's
don't
always
know,
the good.
I don't know how many
Always.
people are actually going to get side two. That those were actual records. You had to get up and flip them over, and cassette tapes. You had to take the tape out and
Take
flip it.
it out, B side, put it in. Yeah, there we
Yeah,
go. I'm a little bit young for vinyl records, but I've still got cassette tapes.
yeah, yeah. Compact discs. Don't try and flip those over and play side two. Bad.
So it's really it's actually quite asinine. That's a good word. It's quite asinine if you think of the amount of saturation in every social media platform of all of the foundations and groups and all of the talk around mental health days and mental health weeks and what we're going to do. And then in actual fact, we only want the top easy shit for mental health. A lot of people don't want that real nitty gritty shit about mental health. Like everyone's so wrapped up in their own shit. And don't get me wrong, I can be as much, if not more, wrapped up in my own shit as others.
Yeah.
But, we only just really scratch the surface. But I've had a lot of people reach out to me. I was telling a story about, some guys who I went out. He contacted me after a post I put up about how bad of a situation he was in, and he just needed a guy to sit there and listen to him who understood what he was really talking about when he sat there and said, "I'm not sleeping. I'm
Yeah.
having a really hard time. I've got $75,000 a month in repayments. I've got no fucking work. I've got half of my guys in my yard pressure washing equipment because there's no work coming. My operations manager's just left me. My wife doesn't like me and she's talking about moving back to her parents. And I'm not real happy at the minute." I said, "Okay, is there anything I can do to help?" And he goes, "No, you have help. You just sat here and listened to it. I didn't know him from a bar of soap, but still haven't spoken to him since. However, I've text messaged him 3 times to say, 'Hey, mate, you all good?' And I know that the company has work again. I heard it through the channels and I hear that everything's all right." And he's just reached out, had a coffee, breakfast, sat down, spoke to someone who really understood what he was talking about, who listened. Not saying I'm a great listener. I'm more of a monologuer than I am a listener. Um, but I think he enjoyed just being with someone who outside the circle, who understood, who'd gone through the same shit.
And that's I will say, you know, having been a fighter pilot and growing up in that environment in my journey, um, is that you, no matter how much of it you try to be a self-made man, and you're going to go, it's unhealthy or unwise. I'll use the term unwise. I'll be generous about it. To try and walk it alone. You need a wingman along the way. And sometimes you need a wingman. You need to be able to reach out.
Juice.
You need to be able to
Need
be
juice.
confident enough
Mm.
um, in your skills in whatever widget you sell, right? I mean, maybe I sell a service now. I used to deliver high explosive ordnance on bridges and places. You move dirt, you know, but those are our widgets. Richard Branson says everybody sells a widget, right? But um, sometimes you just need somebody to bounce your ideas off of.
Well,
You need a friend, you need a mate, you need something. And those 2 3 word phrases, I need help, I don't know. Um, and being able to collaborate in business is so much more powerful than competing in business.
Well, a few things about that is that I think it was Elon Musk said that he hires people that know more than him, and then he listens to what they say. You have to empower the people. When they say something, you try and do it. You don't try and micromanage every situation. The second thing is that I would have stopped at a company size, I reckon 1/30th to 1/40th of where it is if I didn't have people helping me.
Oh yeah.
And then people who believe in the vision and the people who are willing to work themselves. You think if you've only got one horse pulling the cart, you can only pull a little cart. You hook a whole train of horses up that are all pulling in that same direction. All of a sudden, you can move a much bigger cart. And that's as simple as it is. More horsepower.
Yeah.
That's it. And then, last but not least, you need your circle of people that support you and help you and just want the best for you. Not necessarily this, like that's just the company. I'm talking about this. There's people who support this. They're at work. They get wages. They get paid. Now they go extra over and above and beyond. They work their absolute asses off. I've got one of the best teams in the industry by far, and I'll stand there and argue with anyone about it. Then I didn't build this. We built this. And in actual fact, if you want to talk about safety, I didn't build the safety. No, there's two other people who built the safety. If you want to talk about, like the on-site methodologies and stuff like that, I didn't build that. I don't know how to do that anymore. Like it's moved so far past what I did. But I employ the people. I try and empower them because that's really hard to actually give the ability to grab your money and put it in the bin and not get involved to stop them, but then to make sure that they're only putting a little amount of money in the bin and you're not involved. Not a maximum amount of money because that's too much money in the bin. However, not be so in the process that you're micromanaging the guy in between these stages. That's a real challenge.
You
However,
just nailed a whole bunch of points that are really important to pull out of that. One is the importance of team.
yeah,
Two is the importance of stepping back and empowerment and having centralized control but decentralized execution, right? Letting that
I like
team
that. That's good.
flourish,
I heard
right?
that before.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
like it.
well, micromanagement is a fast track to sleepless nights and a lot of antacid, right?
Tell me about
And
it.
you talked
Tell me
about money, so all these things you just talked about are the three pillars of any successful business: is time, team, and money. Um, Build a team, manage your team's time, and keep an eye on the money and have controls in place so that it's being allocated responsibly in in a way that meets your strategic
So it's
goals and your vision.
accountable and responsible. You got to get both. I can give someone responsibility, but if they don't take accountability, then it's pointless. And then you've just got someone filling in a spreadsheet that I give them. The empowerment uh, it is designed from, well, it's not really designed, it's what I want to do, it's how I want to help build a team. I want them to build up as much as I want me to build up. And I see me personally, them personally, and Starbuck in the middle of us, all of us building together. If you're empowering them correctly, then they have the accountability. I have to give them the responsibility and say, you're doing this. And they have to come back to me and say, I think what you're making me do is dumb. And I think I've got a better way to do it. And to which most of the time, if I've employed the right person, they're 100% right. And what I told them to do was really stupid, dumb. And we need to look at that process, look at that procedure, and then do something about it. Usually what they want to do.
So that's another huge um, thing that I think is a takeaway for anybody watching this. What you just said is your employees are comfortable coming to you and saying, "Hey, Jimmy, um, your idea was dumb. And they're not expecting to get a five-finger death punch in the chops for doing so, or getting kicked off the site.
Oh
And
no,
that's
no,
incredibly important.
it's always a discussion. Now, not saying that we don't end up going with my idea or that I employ the biggest group of geniuses in the construction world that I know better than the boss either, because a lot of idiots think that they know better at the boss. It takes a lot of wisdom and a lot of knowledge to be that big of an idiot sometimes.
Well,
But
the
but with that,
criticality of what you said though is that you have an open feedback loop. You
it's
know,
got to be,
you
must be.
you yeah,
I think
you
I
cracked the
learned that
code.
from I learned that from starting so young and trying to build these people to stand with a 22-year-old who's taken on a $50,000 job in 2 weeks or $100,000 job in 2, 3, 4 weeks, where you're trying to get these people to believe in you and trying to get these people to put their mortgage and their car repayment on coming to work for you. Because if they don't believe that you will be successful, then they're not going to come to work. That's something
Those-
that not many people talk about. That's why the huge companies get more people and everything like that. It's because of the fact that when you're starting out and they come to your house and you say, I've got a job, and they look in your driveway and your car's a hunk of shit and your house is messy and you don't answer your phone and your kids are screaming, they go, like, maybe you put together right for me to come to work, because I can't be bothered being yelled at by my wife, boss. Like, my wife's going to kick my ass if you don't put my paycheck in on Thursday. I'll work. Are you going to pay? Like, we have to. So and then that's where a lot of the glitz and glamour of the tech industries come and just destroy construction, because they've sold that dream. That's part of what they've sold to, we've got a yoga room. Now, if they ever have time to use the yoga room, who knows? Like, it could all be bullshit. The yoga room could be empty, but you're looking at it from the outside, and the construction world is selling, hard work and, good pay and good conditions and everything else. However, hard work, and then you have the tech industry selling, we work a 22-hour week, and of that 22 hours, you can go to a meditation pod for 4 hours, and then you get, we get your groceries delivered, and we'll do your dry cleaning, and then you go there and you end up working 130 hours because you just have to get the project done, and you're so scared that the other 1,000 software engineers are going to take your job. And then, but from the outset, looking in, everyone's like, do you know what? I need to go to college and I need to be in tech, because I've read an article online. They get paid 250,000 and work 22 hours, and there's yoga pods, and I like yoga.
you throw so many leadership nuggets out there. I can't even throw them out. But so many leadership principles that you put out about building a team, it's admirable. What you put together, and to have come this far in just 17 years
But,
is
but
brilliant.
don't get me wrong. We do the same thing as online, because even I'm very guilty of it myself. I have I have micromanaged more people than most. That's how I'm able to sit here and tell you about micromanagement, because I've lost great employees by not doing the right thing. I've lost great employees, and I kicked myself about it, because I would have been double the size if I wasn't a dickhead. Right?
Yeah,
I have
I'll wade in on there. I promise I haven't learned a single thing unless I failed at it first.
Yeah, yeah.
I,
Takes a
it,
really smart man to learn from someone else's mistakes.
yeah, that's a great way to say that. I mean, and I think about my daughters when I say this all the time, but I was the same kid. I was the guy that had to burn my hand on a stove
Uh,
twice because
yeah.
the first time it didn't stick. I figured
Mm.
no, I can get by it. I had to fail at it not just once. Sometimes I had to fail at it twice.
It's
Yeah,
it's a real challenge. And while I sit there and say I listen to people and I have an open loop of discussion on site, I have also in my hard times, but hard times might be personally or whatever it is, rocked up to a site, stamped it like this and said, this is what we're doing, and had operators look at me and go, you are completely and totally backwards. You are backwards, and you have came in here, you've taken a snapshot of what we're doing, flipped it completely and totally on its head so you lose more money, and then left. And so while I sit there and I do that, it's only through meeting after meeting, head holding, that I've sat there and actually realised that maybe the guy on site that I've told to shut up for 2 years might have a good idea.
Yeah. You brought
And
up
so,
Elon Musk. There's a scene in I think it was one of the Marvel movies in Iron Man where it was the original Iron Man where he's walking through. I can't remember the actor's name right off the top of my head. I'm sure I'll take a lot of crap in the comments for that, but he's walking
I'm gonna
in.
say Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah,
I'm
Robert
gonna
Downey Jr. is walking into the lab and he's
say,
like going, "Hey, there you go. Thanks for bailing me out because I would have taken a lot of guff for that." But he's walking through the lab and people are yelling at him and he's in a hurry and it's a crisis situation and this guy in the background stands up and he says, "I think I have a solution. I think I can do it." And he's like, "Sit down and shut up. I don't want to hear it now." And he keeps walking. The person that they cast to stand up and say, "Hey, I think I have a solution," was Elon Musk. So,
yeah,
if you ever happen to see that original version, it was Stark. Yeah, he was walking through Stark Enterprises lab to go and try on his suit, and it was a crisis situation. This guy stands up and he's like, "Hey, I've got a solution to the rocket motor." And he was like, "Sit down, and shut up."
he would have a solution to a rocket motor. SpaceX going okay, I believe, once their rockets stopped exploding. So,
Yeah. Well, hey, like I said, you don't learn anything until it fails, right? And
it's
that's when you.
it's really interesting because yeah, I do sit there and I just want to say that I've screwed up more times than I've had wins. It's just that my wins have been bigger than my losses. That's the only reason we're here. Need to try and maximize the wins and minimize the losses. I have a lot of problems in me and my company, but in all of them uh, to be overcome. The company, the problem I used to have was how to write an invoice. We're up to invoice 20 something thousand. You just run into these problems consistently throughout your years that you have to jump over, and then you get to the next problem, and then you jump over that. Now, some are big, some are small, and that's why I say I'm only halfway through my journey, and I don't know. I don't know what we'll do. A lot of people, especially on the LinkedIn train, like to, capture a company and its life cycles in, a thought out post that's 300 words long to try and adequately describe what a company will go through in 30 years of business in a post that they like. This is the start, this is the middle. And that's what comes in between a lot of people and telling their stories about in a truthful way, because you have perceived experts online, coaches, a litany of coaches. There's coaches on there are coaches
I'm
for the
right
coach.
here. I'm right
No,
here.
no, 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 no. Not you. Not you. It's you would know the ones that I'm talking about. The
I do.
life experience being incredibly slim, the work experience being negligible, the business experience being negligible, and then coming in and then writing something really stupid. I saw this post the other day that said, from a guy claiming to maximize your wealth. He says, this post is going to be unpopular, but if you don't make more money a year in your first 2 years of business than you would on wages, you should quit and go back on wages because I can make you more money. Now, this is a guy who's selling himself as a verified expert. Imagine reading that and working 70, 80, 90 hours a week, taking home no money and having your wife yelling at you, and reading this post and just going, I'm doing everything wrong because you've got this, we'll call him not an expert, so that it's a nice descriptive way. We've got not an expert saying,
There was probably a different pronoun or adjective we could have thrown in there, but I get you.
Yeah, I had them all, but I'm trying to keep it PG rated. And it's hard. It's hard to decipher who's the guys you should listen to. It's hard to decipher who's the guys that can help you on your journey and you help them on theirs, and who are the guys who are so absolutely full of shit that you should laugh at their posts. I actually put up something and said, you know, look, I'm looking, like I just said before, I send 150 trucks a day. I want to send 200 people at work. I turned over 50,000 in my first year, and I could have made 100 and something on wages.
Yeah.
Now, I could have given up then, and this guy's going to tell me I could be richer to be on wages.
So, and that's a really important one, and it comes up a lot because I always ask this question. You've answered it, but I ask this question of almost everybody that comes on the series of, you know, what advice would you give to an aspiring entrepreneur or something different? And the overwhelming theme of the answer is persistence. I think our mutual friend Dane Cotton said, "Don't have a plan B." So
No,
don't have
keep
a
going.
plan B. You're all the way in. Or
That's what The Art of War said. The book, The Art of War, by, I don't know
yeah,
how to say
Sun
the name,
Tzu.
Sun Tzu, yeah, said that soldiers fight best when there's no option of retreat.
Yeah, and it was and you know, I had the first guy I interviewed, Igor Chernetsky, runs a trucking company out of Spokane. He was like, "Don't do it." He said, "Don't do it." He said the only reason that you should start your own business is because the only thing that you can ever see yourself doing. Otherwise, don't do it. And so it's commitment, perseverance, and persistence are some of the key ingredients. And I think the other thing that we
I
kind of
would say
pulled out of this,
sometimes the only ingredients you need,
yeah,
because
well,
those are
and
the
I think
things
what
that'll
we
get you
pulled
out
out of
there.
this is don't try and walk it alone, you know?
Don't try and walk it alone. There's a lot of other things that can create foundations of a company of great success. You need a good work ethic. You need all of those qualities that you mentioned. You need to be smart. Yeah, I've gone through this multiple times on multiple podcasts because everyone seems to ask the same question: how to, you know, how did you get from here to here? Now, wherever that is, because you could say I had a better life balance when I was small. So how did you go from here to here in life, but from here to here in business revenue? Because that's it ends up to being what they want. But I say, you know, like you need a lot of things. You need to, you know, be at some point intelligent. You need to be at some point a hard worker. You know, at some point you need to be personable so that people want to buy your service or people want your product. And then, but last and possibly also as much important as what you've said is you need someone to grab a salt shaker that's full of luck, and you need to go like this over the top of the entire foundation, really nice dusted coating, because without it, you're in deep shit and you probably won't last. You need to be in the right spot at the right time. You need to meet the right people. You need to have not employ the wrong people, because there's people out there who will put your business back 10 years. And at some stage, it's just luck that you skip that one, skip this one, you know, don't win the job that the builder goes broke on. You know, don't take on the risk that you would normally take on when the water main is in the wrong spot and you're going to flood the entire job. And then all of a sudden your insurance is going to go up for 10 years because you have to put it through insurance. Now, that's not, you can try and do everything. You can pothole for the pipe. You can do all of this. You can get the plans. You can sort it out. If you ain't got that, like if someone hasn't done that lucky bit and you got the wrong operator at that time, he's going to rip that pipe out. You're going to be in deep shit. And then you've got all of the foundations set. You've got out of bed. You've done your paperwork. You're a nice guy. You're ruthless when you need to be. You're an asshole when you need to be. You employ the right people. You've got the right team. But that guy's still going to rip that fucking pipe out if you ain't got that little bit of luck on top.
Yeah. Um, you know, and sometimes that salt shaker luck dust runs dry, and that's when
Yeah,
that perseverance and persistence has to kick back
correct,
in, and you got to throw a
correct.
little hot sauce on it and
Yep.
have one of those
It
sleepless nights. So
couldn't
I
explain it better. It's not going to be rainbows and butterflies the entire time. It's not. And if it is rainbows and butterflies, your business ain't like mine. Your business ain't like many people's that I know. Like, if the risks that you have to take and the things that you have to put on the line again and again and again, you know, lead. They're gonna have sleepless nights. They're gonna have bad days, and just so you know, you're not alone, and it's okay. And I put a little thing at the end of it. Reach out to me if I can have a virtual coffee with you or a real one. I'll have one because I'll match your story for story, not in a measuring competition, but just because it's nice to sometimes talk to people too.
like we
But
said, don't go it alone.
people need to be real about it, and people need to talk about um, all of the real issues that they're running into, because putting up a post about being so proud about installing 1,000 linear meters of pipe, a good business owner, and in fact anyone who's gotten to the stage of not much to installing 1,000 linear meters of pipe, that's already in the rear view mirror. They're already searching for the next thing. You're not really that proud of that because you want to install 1,500 linear meters of pipe on the next job that you're already bidding. Someone says, oh, how'd the job go? And you go, yeah, good, I think I made money. And they go, okay, well, no, Jimmy, we need to break it down. You go, right, I did make money, this, and this, because I am smart, I do know what I'm doing, and blah, blah, blah. However, that's back there. I'm out there. What are we doing? Where are we going? How am I getting to 150 trucks on the road? What do we need to do to make our systems, processes, and everything better? And they go, but aren't you proud of the pipe? And I go, which pipe? Oh, the 1,000 pipe. Oh, yeah, okay. Yep, love it. But too many people put up the post because they're trying to win more work putting in pipe, I believe.
Well, and that's another great one, and it's a good one to wrap up on because I know that you've got to go because you've got all the wanker meetings, I think you called them earlier.
Wanker meetings, sales meetings,
But
management
but
meetings, betters meetings on a Friday. We run them all in conjunction. Everyone comes to the office, and then I buy everyone lunch for putting up with me in meetings.
okay, everybody that's watching this, did you hear that? He has all these meetings. Nobody really enjoys the meetings, but they have to happen. But then he takes everybody out and he buys them lunch.
No, no,
That's
I'll get the
that's
lunch in. Get the
yeah,
lunch in.
but that's team building. That's leadership. But to go back and put a period or an exclamation point on what you were just saying about the pipe is, and this is really important. This is a great takeaway to wrap this up on. Look through the windshield. Don't keep looking at the rearview mirror. Talk about what you're going to do next, not what you did last week. Think about what you're going to do next and have that positive attitude about where you're going. You can always talk about where you've been over a pint or a cup of coffee, but stay focused on where you are going.
The
Make your
great
90.
great
I would challenge everybody to make a 90-day flight plan, chart out a course, just like you would plan a vacation or a trip. Do that for your business. Just keep looking through the windshield and not over your shoulder. But as a good fighter pilot, always check six.
Mm. Hey, actually, I like that. We should end it there because I like that a lot. Oh, hang you
All right.
please.
Well, with that,
Oh,
then, man, yeah, Jimmy, James, it's this has been absolutely awesome. And I hope we pulled some threads, and I hope we stamped on a few people's nerves, and I hope we took them out of their funk, and made them realize that this journey is tough, but it has big rewards when you have success. So for everybody out there watching, keep grinding, don't give up, keep looking forward. Um, anything parting shots from you, James?
Not at all, mate. Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate your time today and I appreciate you reaching out to me. And if anyone else would like to reach out to me on LinkedIn or on any other platform, I'm sure you can find me and look forward to chatting.
This guy moves dirt. Believe me,
Yeah.
his posts are epic. So everybody take care. We'll see you next time.